and let me start with the process. A constitution is for people, it's for Zambians. And I must also add that it's not even a legal process. That's why it's handed over to the legislative branch of government, which constitutes elected people, who by constitution, who by composition is not necessarily made of lawyers, it's made of people's representatives. And if it's made of people's representatives, the first thing that I ought to do is to listen to the people. And stakeholders have said, let's build consensus around there. You cannot come, you come up with a law. You recall that they came up with an act on talking, which they called the NDF Act. Who has ever come up with a law on how to consult each other or how to talk? So they went there, drafted, but unfortunately even what came into Butane is not even what they were discussing there. So the process, first of all, is flawed. PF must learn to listen. I'm sure you have heard them vowing, including the head of state, that come what may, this bill will go through. That's not how you make a constitution that is intended to be the constitution for the people. They should have built around consensus. There are key issues there that you build consensus as a country, as people, as much wider stakeholders as possible. In this case, as UPND, when we put all the councillors, etc., we constitute a very big chunk of people's representatives.
You and against whatever came out of that NDF process?
If you recall, the NDF came via an act, the NDF forum, it came via an act. And that act, even that act, we opposed to it. The reason is very basic. People have been arguing that they went to Siavonga, and out of Siavonga they came up with a proposal that there should be a law, and that law, whoever was to sit in that NDF was prescribed by that act, which was leaning heavily on government. Leaning heavily on government because it constituted, first of all, members of parliament, yes, government through the permanent secretaries and all those. If you go even yourself now and to go and check, you realize that over 50% of the people that were sitting were government functionaries in the various branches within the executive branch of government. Now, you don't go, that's not what building consensus is. You don't pick your appointees. You don't pick your appointees and say you want to make a law for the nation. That was a flawed thing from the beginning. And we told them very openly from the beginning that this whole process you have begun is a worthless journey, and it has proven and it will prove so to be a worthless journey. We must be seen to be reducing as much as possible governmental powers, especially the executive branch of government. The Zambians have been speaking. Why do we need extra powers for a head of state or the executive branch of government? What can he do today that he needs more powers to do tomorrow? And I'll be very specific. One of the proposals is to increase the size of cabinet. You may realize that the size of cabinet currently excludes the chief whip. They want to include that. Secondly, the provincial ministers are not part of cabinet. Thirdly, they want to bring in deputy ministers. So within 156 elected members of parliament that 80 nominated, if you're going to remove deputy ministers, and in the past you know that one minister can have three deputy ministers, it means that you are reducing the size of the legislative branch of government because parliament has not expanded. And if parliament has not expanded and you are removing, it's a very basic contra entry. You remove bank benchers, you push them in the front bench. Any vote that comes in parliament, by the way, at the end of the day, it goes to at the end of the day, if there is any disagreement, it goes to a vote. So when you are reducing the size of the back bench, the legislative branch of government, and you know that by our own law here, the cabinet is bound by collective responsibility. So whether a minister likes it or not, we have to vote or toll the position of cabinet. And that is by law, our own law. So they are seeking to expand the size of cabinet. That's number one. Two, economic reasons. How can you be thinking of expanding a cabinet now? We don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses, we can't employ teachers, we're failing to give meal allowances to students, we're failing to pay workers, but you're choosing to expand the size of cabinet that sits there. The second aspect is to remove the powers of the legislative branch in terms of determining the number of constituencies in the country, delimitation. That is provided for. That is supposed to be a matter of people's representative. They wanted to move it to a subsidiary law. Currently, the number of constituencies is provided for, but they want ECZ to be sitting and determining the number. Now, that's a very serious potential time bomb, if not properly, judiciously exercised, because it can bring fights. It can lead us to scatter the country. It can lead people to fight one from the other. For example, what would be the basis? So that's why it was left by people's representation. The other component which we have told them, not like this, in the current amended the Constitution, Amendment Act 2 of 2016, if I retire you and have not paid your dues, you are supposed to remain on payroll. They want to remove that. Why are they in a haste to remove that? It's because they don't want to take responsibility. So why do they want to be sending workers on the street, workers back from work to go on the street, and then they don't want to pay them? I'm sure you know how many people have not been paid in Zambia. Now people have been crying. And you know that PF has also gone on record retiring people in mass, including professionals that we need at a very critical time like now, including doctors. So why would you want to throw people on the street? You don't want to pay them, and you remove the only protection. I've just told you, what's the use of me sitting down stressing a point, watching somebody being raped and said, because me I stated my position, I don't like rape, a person being raped. What's the use? Haven't I become an accessory to a crime? So we cannot sit in a flawed process, sit there the whole night or the whole day, when we know that at the end of the day there's a lot of dishonest around the process. So it's within our parliamentary processes that actually when you don't like, you can show displeasure by walking out from a process. And there's nothing wrong. There is also within parliamentary practice for parties to draw what we call three-line whip. Three-line whipping means that a party member will have to toe the line of the party. And that is within parliamentary democracy in the Commonwealth. It's practiced everywhere, in the UK, everywhere. You go to the Commonwealth, it's a matter that is a settled matter. It's a settled principle, settled practice. That's why it's not an offense to walk out of a process you don't like in Parliament. I've always asked people, in a civilized society, should we have sat there, when given Ruminda starts misleading people, we stand up, we go and start beating him? But again, no, not in a civilized society. Would you have accepted that? Would you have accepted that? Would you have accepted that this parliament in Zambia degenerates into a physical fight like in other parliaments? Again, no. As UPND and other progressive representatives of people who chose to not to be part and parcel. In September, I went to all the wards. I was doing 2 assignments there. One, I was getting views on the proposed delimitation from Mbabara constituency, wards, polling stations, polling districts. Number 2, I was also explaining the contents and the proposed butane, because by then it had been tabled in August. And I also know from experience and practice that there's no person in the Mbabara constituency who wants a head of state to sit on a head of state or government to sit on the heads. Even I, as a member of parliament, my powers are limited. I cannot go into Mbabara constituency and from today onwards I'm the almighty. I'll do everything for you, or I'll sit on your heads. No, it doesn't work like that. So I'm representing the people of Mbabara constituency, but ultimately I'm also listening to the voices of the other people, because I'm a leader at national level. Leaders from various groups of people, the civil society, the church mother bodies, the labor movement have spoken. And you may be interested to know that even the PF as a party, when they appeared before the select committee, they disowned their own document.
Okay.
The bill is amended at the stage, at the committee stage. Now that was not a committee stage. Now PF have been going around telling people that they have amended butane. Butane still has remained butane. And butane has never been amended. That's why, as UPND, we have said, and so many other stakeholders, withdraw it, go and redraft it, and bring it back, table it, and then that will amount to a completely new bill. Okay. As if we stand today, what is on the floor of the House, what was being considered was butane in its original form. There is no amendment, no amendment, because you haven't reached the level at which you can amend the bill.